So fiber actually falls under, I guess, the umbrella of carbohydrates, which is what we're going to speak about today. So if you've ever looked at a food label, you'll see carbohydrates kind of in bold, and fiber will be under that. That is because fiber is a carbohydrate. It falls under the umbrella of a carbohydrate. So I want to talk about carbohydrates really quickly, just because I think that they typically get a bad rep, right? A lot of people say, oh, I'm on a diet, I'm taking out carbs. I think a lot of people that say that don't necessarily actually know what carbohydrates are, the difference between a simple carbohydrate and a complex carbohydrate, as well as why they're actually important in our diet. So there are two different types of carbohydrates, which is what we're going to focus on today quickly. We have a simple carbohydrates and a complex carbohydrate. Simple carbohydrates are those that have really no nutrients, right? Anything with just white sugar, white bread, white pasta, cookies, cake, candy. There's really no nutrients. Any nutrients that were there are typically stripped away during the processing, process, we could say. And then we have our complex carbohydrates. And these are the carbohydrates that we really want to emphasize and be cognizant to add more into our diet. So those consist of tons of fiber and other really, really essential nutrients, such as vitamins and minerals that we really need in our diet. So we have things like whole wheat bread, whole wheat pasta, brown rice, sweet potatoes, regular potatoes, for having the skin, any really fruit, many starchy vegetables like beets, squashes that grow from any sort of root vegetable that grows from the ground. Those are starchy vegetables. Those do contain carbohydrates, and those are good carbohydrates. Those are important carbohydrates. Our body needs carbohydrates to fuel. It fuels our brain, it fuels our body, it gives us energy. We want to make sure we're getting carbohydrates in all three of our meals. There's actually for anybody who does have diabetes, or who follows a carb counting type of diet, or whether they have diabetes or not, carbohydrates are the number one. Even though that's actually what raises our blood sugars, carbohydrates is actually the largest amount of macronutrient that we need in each meal. And obviously we should be focusing on making those complex carbohydrates, right? We want to make sure that half of the carbohydrates we're eating during the day, and I would say even more, but the USDA guidelines say that half of the carbohydrates should be complex carbohydrates. So they should be things that contain fiber and other really important nutrients. And so that's really all I wanted to share today.